first outcomes that we talked about was how to draw an angle. Okay, so I was given you negative 460. Okay, so negative, you know what that means to go downward. So I'm going to go an entire circle backwards. Okay, because that's 360. How much further am I going to have to go yet? 100 more, right? Because 460 subtract 360. 100 more. Where do you land if you go 100 more? Okay, so if you think about just like a hand on like a clock, but not in clock position, where does that hand land if it started here and had to rotate? Okay, so when you draw angles, I give you basically a point for understanding kind of the quadrant you land in, and did you draw the swiveled amount? Somebody who would draw this would lose a half of a point. You're in the right position, but you didn't show me the amount of rotation. Okay? What is the reference angle? So from where it is, how far is it to a closest x-axis? So that would be what I'm looking for. The distance in that zone. Jacob, are you not finding this paper? Oh, you got it, okay. So how much distance is in here? So my math, I'm going to be doing this because I'm thinking this 180 subtract the 100 will leave me with that. So that's an 80-degree angle. You always remember that references can't be negative. They can't be bigger than 90. Okay, and please don't ever connect them to the y-axis, right? It's always the x. Okay, what quadrant is? So when I see that, I'm going to be doing some Astica stuff. Okay, sign is negative. Right? Do you understand the symbol? Less than 0 is negative. So there's two quadrants where sign is negative. Where is tangent negative? So pick the two where tan is negative. So the diagonal's there. So which quadrant worked for both situations? So I would like your answer as a quadrant number, and that is quadrant 4.
Please excuse this interruption. There have been several teachers that have not been able to access the internet this morning. It is recommended to try and connect through the Open Guest Network. If that doesn't work for you, then give us a call in the office, 2002.
Okay, quadrant 4. Given the cos ratio and the angle is not in quadrant 1, find the sine and the tan of the angle. So I'm finding trig values. So this is going to be the topic of the x, y, r stuff. Okay, I will provide these formulas for you on your test. So you're going to see this. Sine angle equals y over r. Cos angle equals x over r. And tan angle equals y over x. Okay, so those will be given to you on the test. Okay, let's analyze what quadrant we're in, okay? So I know that cos is positive. It is not in quadrant 1. So where are you? Cos is positive, but you're not in quadrant 1. So which is the Astica position there? So that's quadrant 4. It's the C quadrant. Okay, so I'm going to create a triangle. Okay, I was given a cos ratio. So 8 over 13. What is that representing? The 8 is the x, and the 13 is the r, because I'm just matching here to the formula. So 8 is the x, the r is 13. So can you place those on your triangle? So 8 is the x, the r is 13. Okay? Everyone understands that the r is the radius. As in, if I had a circle, my radius of my circle is 13. Radius is always positive. Okay? X's and Y's can be negative or positive. So let's go positive on that 8. And I would like to figure out that. So I'm going to do Pythagorean Theorem. Would you like to add or subtract? Subtract, because it's a smaller, it's not the hypotenuse. Okay, so 13 squared, subtract 8 squared. And then I'm going to think if I get a nice number. I got 105. Does that value square root nicely? Nope. So I'm going to leave it. Okay, we're going to have to analyze where we are right now. What do you think? That's a y. What do you want to call it? A positive or a negative y? Think about where you are. Your y is below, so you're negative. Okay, so I was asked to write the sign. So the sign is the y divided by the r. And I was asked to write the tangent. So I want the trig value for tan, so that is the y divided by the x. Okay, so a lot of quadrant analyzing. You got your Pythagorean theorem, and then following some formulas. Okay, but please make sure you're analyzing your positives and negatives properly. Okay, solving for angles. So this is a level 1 situation here. So I've already got the trig value. So let's start with the angle mode here. So the first thing you do when we are in angle mode is we're going to figure out where our angle is. So quadrants, sine negative. Where's sine negative? The bottoms? Okay, so now I'm in my calculator and I'm going to sine inverse. What's the rule there? Do you remember? Don't do the negative. We did the negative in its location. We're not going to do the negative in the math part, right? So this is a reference angle that you get. Okay, if anybody's matching my 62.3, that anybody match that? That was good. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to figure out my actual location from 0 to 360. Where am I actually located? Okay, so this one, I'm going to be doing 180 plus it because it's bigger than 180. And on this one, I'm going to be doing 360 minus that amount. Okay, you can always check your answers on the test. If you want to go forwards, you can say, what's the sine of 297.7 equals negative 0.8854. Okay, that's me checking my answer. Okay, next. For this one, we have a little work to do. Before we start angle mode, we just have our algebra mode first. Okay, so what's the algebra stuff before the angle stuff? Okay, so algebra, I have one variable. I'm going to isolate. So think about what you want to do to isolate there. Move some stuff around. Okay, so I got cos of the angle is going to be negative 2/5. Is that good? Okay, now I'm going into the angle mode because this is just the trig value. So where am I located? That's your first work. So cos negative in quadrants. Okay, so I picked on the left-hand side of the graph. So in my calculator now, I'm going to cos inverse. And I'm going to put mine in brackets. And I'm also not putting a negative in there because I did the negative into the location again. So practice that type. So that's a reference. Are we agreeing? 66.4. Okay, so now you have to find the actual answer. That's the last step. So for me, I'm going to do a 180 minus that amount, and here I'm going to do a 180 plus that amount. Okay, again, if you want on your test, check your answer out. So I could be like this. 5 times the cos of 246.4 plus 3, and it should equal close to 1 because we rounded. 0.998, so like close to 1 because we did some rounding there. So okay, number 6. So again here, I got to think algebra, and then I'll go into my angle mode. So what's the algebra strategy here? Anybody have a method for me that they might recognize? What do you think? Simple trinomial factoring? Do you see it? Okay, so I'm going to go 2 brackets. To get the tan squared, I'm going to go tan angle, tan angle. To get the 3, I'm going to times 3 and 1. I got to make one of them positive, one of them negative. I need to end up with a positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to go tan theta equals negative 3. And in this bracket, tan theta equals 1. Okay, all that was just algebra. We haven't done anything angle yet. Okay, so the first step in angle mode is, where are you? So I'm going to really be doing like 2 different questions now at this point. Okay, so where am I? Tan is negative. Okay, so tan inverse. Can you do a tan inverse to get a reference? And get me a final number when you're done that. Okay, so I did a 180 subtract. And then on this one, I did a 360 subtract. Okay, we have to keep going here. This question looks like it could have 4 answers on it. Okay, so it's a positive. So I'm positive. I'm in quadrant 1, 3. Okay, now I'm calculator mode. Tan inverse 1. So that should be a reference of 45. So that angle ends up being 0 plus 45. And then this one is 180 plus 45. Okay, number 7. So this, to me, looks like a complex trinomial. Do you see the parts of it to recognize the algebra? Okay, where am I with my algebra? Complex. Okay, I'm going to flip it to be negative 21. One, 21, 3, and 7. That's it, right? There's not much there. I'm looking for partners that will produce a 5. I don't think there is anything. Okay, so that didn't work. So this means I can't factor it. So what else do we do? If we can't factor it, what's another thing? If you can't factor, you know what you're going to have to do? The formula. You don't need to write this out. I'm just going to be writing it here. Okay, the quadratic formula. Okay, so I don't write x equals because my variable is now cos x. So cos x equals negative b, so you should write negative 5, plus or minus the square root of the b number squared. So squaring the b number makes 25. Subtract 4 times the a number times the c number, all times 2 times the a. Okay, get me that discriminant part. So in other words, what kind of number is under the square root? Okay, I got a 109 on that number. That matches, peoples? So as of right now, I know that there's going to be two numbers that come out because the 109 is positive. Okay, so type the 2 into your calculator. So negative 5 plus root 109. I'm going a few decimal places on this because I don't really want to round right now. In grade 12, you're going to learn that you can't round at all. So your final answer is where you want to do your rounding. Okay, how's our numbers looking? I got like a 0.9067. And then when I did the subtraction, I got negative 2.57. We're good with the typing, everyone? Somebody's matching me at least. Okay. So I'm going to tackle this one first. So 0.9 is positive, so I'm on the right side. It's a positive trig value. Okay, I'm going to cos inverse 0.9067. My angle is 24.9 degrees. Okay, so one answer is 24.9 degrees. And then this one would be if we subtracted from 360. Okay, next. Negative for the cos. So which quadrants? So quadrants 2 and 3. And I'm going to cos inverse positive, right? I don't do a negative there. I already put the negative into the location. And is your calculator saying it's an error? That's correct. So then I'm going to say that this one has no solution for it. There's no angle that will work in that spot. So those are the only two answers that I can get. Okay, the only other thing that I could think of that wasn't really on this page is, what if you had a situation like this? Where is your angle? That is not positive or negative. So you cannot be in any of the quadrants. So what do I know about the angle? It's going to be in one of either the x-axis or the y-axis, basically. Okay? So if you like, you can test. If you want to test, you're going to have to do 5 tests. Right? Those are all the values that would be possible. You could be at 0, 90, 180, 270, or 360. Or if you understand the cos situation, the cos situation is like this, right? Positive, negative. So where is cos 0? At 90 and at 270. Okay, does that make sense as well? But you can test all 5 of them to see which of the 5 work. Okay, but that's to know that you're not in a quadrant. Okay, making a unit circle. We're not going to make all of it right now. How about we just kind of recall how to make it? Okay, let's go angles. So 0, let's go the 90, 180, 270, and 360. Okay, now I'm going to go 30 off of every axis. So this is 30, 150, 210, and 330. I went 30 off each quadrant. Okay, now I'm going to go 45 off of each. So 45 back of 180 is 135. 45 further than 180 is 225. And 45 this way is 315. Okay, now I'm going to go 60. So 60 less than 180 is 120. 60 bigger, 240. And this is 300. Okay, you're going to be developing this without your calculator. Okay, now I'm going to follow the pattern. So you need to have this kind of memorized. 0, 1/2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, and 1. Maybe some of you like to do the 4 corners before you even start the pattern, maybe. So if I did that, to the right hand side is the coordinate 1, 0. The coordinate at the top is 0, 1. The coordinate on the 180 is -1, 0. And the coordinate at the bottom is 0, -1. Okay, ready? I'm going to put my finger on the zeros. So this is me going to move x and I'm going to move x bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, so moving, I'm going to go 1/2. Move right, root 2/2. Move right, root 3/2. Move right, 1. Okay, I'm resetting back to the zeros. Now I'm going to move left, 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 left. So left is -1/2. Negative root 2/2. Move left, negative root 3/2. And -1. Okay, we did all the x. So I would do the same pattern with the y's. So I would put my finger right here and here, where y is 0. And then I'm going to move up, 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 up. So move up to 1/2. Okay, can you finish this out? And then reset, and then move all the downs. Okay, so on your test, the day before your actual test, I'm going to just give you this to do, and then when you do your test, I'm going to give you one. Okay, so the day before we do our test, you're going to have to complete this from memory, okay? Okay. On your test, this section is going to be without a calculator. Okay, so sine of 150. So I would find a formula. I'm going to give you these formulas. So I know that a sine is a y divided by an r. So 150 is on the unit circle. So the unit circle 150. So I look here. I gave everyone a copy of one if like it's easier to find your copy and then so you don't have to flip back. 150. I go there and I say what is the y? So the y is 1/2 divided by, what is the r value? 1, because this is a unit circle. So what is the radius of this circle? 1. So you know what? Forget about that. I don't need to divide by 1. So it's just the y. Okay, cos. So the formula is x divided by r. And can we do this again? We know that we're going to be dividing by 1, so I'm going to just forget about it. Okay, where are you going to land here? You're going to have to go on that circle backwards for 225. 225 backwards. Okay, what do you think? Is it the same as landing at the 135? Is that where we landed? Here's my little drawing. I went back for 225. So I landed there. So I'm here. I'm going to grab the x coordinate. So that would be negative root 2 over 2. Okay, 10. So that's a y divided by an x. Okay, 405. Where are you landing here? We're going to go a full circle. Full circle plus 45 more. So a full circle plus 45. So on your circle, you're landing at the 45-degree angle. That's where you landed. Okay, so I'm going to take the y number divided by the x number. So root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2. Does anybody know what's the answer with just looking at that right now? What's happening here with this division? It's 1. Because it's the same number divided by its same number. So it's going to turn out to be 1. Okay, another tan question. So it's going to be a y divided by an x. Okay, and don't forget you don't have a calculator on this section, so make sure you're practicing without. So 270 is down at the bottom here. So I'm going to write the y, negative 1, divided by the x. Negative 1 divided by 0. Okay, what is that? And you don't have a calculator. We talked about this one. How do you divide by 0 in math? You can't. So I'm going to write undefined. Do you understand why I'm not writing no solution? I'm writing undefined. Because on this one, I'm asking like, what is the number? Well, you can't define the number. I'm not asking you what's the solution for x or something like that. I'm saying what's the number? Can't define it. Okay, cos of 180. So x divided by r. I'm going to forget about the divide by 1. So what is the x coordinate when I look at 180 on the wheel? So your answer should be negative 1. Okay, sine of negative 270. So on this one, I'm going to do a y divided by r, but forget about the divide by r. So I'm just a y. Okay, think about where you are. If you went negative 270, negative 270. Would you land right on the 90 then? Does that make sense? So I land there. And what's the y coordinate? 1. Okay, and the last one is 210. So I'm looking on my circle. So 210, it's right on there. And I'm going to have to do a y divided by an x, because that's the formula. Okay, so y is negative a half and then negative root 3 over 2. That's the y number divided by the x. What will my answer turn out as, a negative or a positive answer? Positive, because I saw 2 negatives in there, so my answer is positive. And are we okay to understand that those 2's are going to cancel? Okay, in the long way, I'm going negative a half and I'm timesing and flipping. That's what I was doing. Dividing by a fraction, you should times and flip. And then a 2 on the top cancels a 2 on the bottom. And negatives would cancel. Okay? I'm okay if you understand it and just shorthand it like that.